Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to Chef Vic Cuisine. Today, we're making a Grand Marnier Souffle. We're talking 5-star quality here. The cloud-like texture and the orange hints throughout this delicate treat. This Grand Marnier Souffle recipe should be reserved for one of those special nights. So without further ado, let's get started. For this recipe, we're going to end up with 4 to 6 Grand Marnier soufflés, depending on the size of the ramekin you use. I'm going with larger soufflés, so all I need is 4 6-ounce ramekins. And we're going to coat the inside of these ramekins with a thin layer of melted unsalted butter. And once those are all coated with the butter, we want to add in a thin layer of sugar to allow the inside to be coated with that as well. Soufflés rise straight up, so they need something to grab onto to create that signature puff. And to help with this, the sugar on the inside of the ramekin creates a slightly rough surface that helps the souffle rise evenly and create a nice crust on the outside. So now let's move on to creating the base for our souffle. And for that, we're going to need 1 cup of whole milk, and we're going to add that to a medium-sized sauce pot. You're also going to want to add 1 tablespoon's worth, if you can find it near you, a pure vanilla extract paste that includes the seeds within it. You also want to add a large pinch of kosher salt to the pot as well. Heat this over medium heat, or 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 176 degrees Celsius, just until the mixture starts to bubble around the edge of the pan, which should take about 6 to 7 minutes. Our goal here is to not let this mixture boil. And while this is heating up, in a separate large bowl, we want to separate 3 large eggs' yolks from their egg whites and place them both into separate bowls. Reserve the egg whites for later on in this recipe, but for now we're working with the egg yolks, and we want to add a dash of kosher salt to these egg yolks as well. And in a separate smaller bowl, we want to whisk together a 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour with a 1/4 cup of granulated white sugar, mixing those until they're well combined. And then we want to add this sugar flour mixture into the egg yolks bowl and whisk them all together until a thick batter forms. After a little while, the batter should look something like this. By this time, your milk mixture should have reached the right temperature, and if you were using a vanilla seed pod, you want to remove that from the pot now. So while whisking constantly, you want to pour in half of the milk mixture strained through a fine mesh sieve into the thick batter to temper this mixture. We want to pour a little bit at a time just so that we make sure we don't cook our eggs. So once that thick batter now becomes smooth, we want to add the batter back into the sauce pot with the remaining amount of milk mixture. Whisk this complete batter for 1 to 2 minutes over medium heat, or 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 176 degrees Celsius. And during that time, the batter should have thickened and become slightly shiny. You now want to remove the batter from the heat and add in 1 to 2 tablespoons worth of your Grand Marnier. Whisk that in until the ingredients have combined, and then you also want to add in about 1 teaspoon's worth of freshly grated orange zest. That really boosts that orange flavor in this souffle. So make sure you stir in that zest until it's all well distributed. And then you want to pour this batter into a separate bowl and cover the batter with plastic wrap, making sure that the plastic wrap touches the surface of all the batter. We do this so we can ensure that the batter doesn't form a skin as it cools. So we want to allow this base to cool completely, which should take about 1 hour in the fridge. And while that base is cooling in the fridge, this is the perfect time to create a creme anglaise sauce. Really simple to make, and it truly elevates this dish. So in a medium-sized sauce pot, we want to add in 1 cup of heavy cream, a 1/3 cup of granulated white sugar, 1 tablespoon of Grand Marnier, a 1/4 teaspoon of pure vanilla extract, as well as 2 large egg yolks, which you can also reserve their egg whites for later on this recipe as well. Whisk all these ingredients together thoroughly over medium-low heat or 249 degrees Fahrenheit, or 120 degrees Celsius. Making sure that you scrape the sides and the bottom of the pot with a rubber spatula to prevent the cream from sticking. We want to continue this mixing process until the cream has thickened, and we also want to ensure that the cream does not reach a simmering point. And if you have a thermometer, you want to monitor the cream until it reaches a temperature of 180 degrees Fahrenheit or 82 degrees Celsius. And once it does, you want to remove the pot from the heat. Strain this cream through a fine mesh sieve to remove any cooked egg particles and then allow it to cool. And with that, it's ready to be served, and you can optionally, if you want, add in some finely grated orange zest to this creme anglaise sauce for some boosted orange flavor. I'm serving mine as is, which is plenty of flavor on its own. So at the point where our base has fully cooled, we want to move on to creating our meringue. And so in the clean bowl of a stand mixer fitted with a whisk attachment, we want to add in 5 large egg whites, as well as a large pinch of cream of tartar. We want to start whisking this on low speed at first until the egg whites become foamy. And once it looks like this, we want to gradually increase the whisking speed to high until soft peaks form. Now you want to gradually add in 2 tablespoons worth of granulated white sugar into this meringue and continue to whisk it until stiff peaks form. So the final texture should be looking something like this. Now we want to take 1/3 of our meringue and whisk that into the cooled base. You don't have to be necessarily gentle at this stage, but take your time in folding and mixing the meringue into the batter. But once that initial 1/3 of the meringue has been incorporated, you want to add in the remaining meringue and gently fold the meringue into the batter. Don't overmix this or our batter will deflate. Gently divide the batter evenly amongst all your prepared ramekins, and this is a delicate process, so take your time as you don't want to deflate your batter. And to help your soufflés rise, if the batter is at the edge, you want to take the edge of your finger or a folded napkin and trace the outside top edge of the ramekin to create a rim. This will help guide the souffle upwards so it rises evenly. We want to preheat our oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit or 204 degrees Celsius and place an oven tray in the lower third portion of your oven. Add your prepared ramekins to a baking sheet, transfer them to the oven, and bake them for 16 to 18 minutes. The soufflés may often rise above the top surface of your ramekin, so always keep a watchful eye on your soufflés as they bake in the oven. But once they've risen nicely, we want to move quickly and transfer the soufflés to a serving plate and garnish them with sifted powdered sugar. We want to work quickly with these as soufflés are best served immediately after baking because they start to deflate as soon as they're out of the oven. So be sure to have everything else ready to go before taking the soufflés out of the oven, as they will deflate quickly. But with that, your soufflés are ready to be served and enjoyed. My favorite way of serving the soufflé is making a hole in the middle of the soufflé and pouring some of that creme anglaise sauce into the soufflé to really enhance the flavor. If you want to try a lemon soufflé, substitute the Grand Marnier with lemon juice and the orange zest with lemon zest. I really hope you enjoy this recipe, and when you try it at home yourselves, be sure to tag me at Chef Vic Cuisine or hashtag Chef Vic Cuisine so I can see your great takes on this recipe. As always, this recipe and many more can be found in my cookbook, Chef Vic Cuisine Volume 3, Upgrading Your Inner Chef. And that's available on Amazon, and I'll be sure to leave a link to that in my description box. And feel free to click the pop-up on your screen for more information on that as well. Thank you all so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed learning how to make this dessert. And if you did, make sure to smash that like button for me. It's one of the best ways to show support on this channel. And if you're new to the channel, my name is Victor and welcome to Chef Vic Cuisine. It's my goal to release new recipes each and every week that you can make for yourself, your family, or your friends. So if that sounds good to you, make sure you click that subscribe button too. And sharing is caring, so if you enjoyed this recipe and think someone else will too, feel free to share this with all your family and friends. And stay tuned for next week where I show you how to make a top-notch, authentic ramen from scratch. It's absolutely delicious and it's gone before you know it. Well, thank you all so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. You can always check out more recipes on my page now. YouTube thinks you'll like this video, so let's see if they're right. And I'll catch you next time on another episode of Chef Vic Cuisine. And until then, peace.